So I'm here with my two favorite security OGs. Maybe introduce yourselves before we start.
Yeah. I'm Taylor Monahan. Been in the space for, someone told me this. They were like, Taylor, you've been in space for a decade now. And I was like, oh, no? It's crazy to think about.
Yep.
Been building wallets the whole time and been really focused on, I used to call it like the intersection of like user experience and safety and security. And at this point, there's no intersection. Like, if you don't keep your users safe, if you're not secure, if everyone gets hacked, turns out really horrible user experience. So it's really just all about security, and that's like a prerequisite for user experience. Most of my time these days is like spent rabbit holing and tracking things on chain and doing crazy things like that. It's been good.
Yeah, and I'm Luker, Director of Security for MetaMask, and I used to work at MyCrypto with Taylor, and we just had a very strong security culture, of course, because it's Taylor. Like everyone at the company was like very security forward. So when we came over to MetaMask, it was kind of a natural fit to fall into the security team.
And so tell us a little bit about the backstory of MyCrypto and the setting up of the MetaMask security team and how it sort of came into being, really.
Well, I don't know, but I was her boss, and now she's my boss.
It's funny how that worked out.
It's great. It's great. It's fantastic. I love it. But it was, I think, when you build a wallet, and, it was like basically just like me and my original co-founder, and then it was like plus one person and another person, you really are just like viscerally hit with when a user loses their money. It like just hits you. And so that's really like the core of the security culture is I was sort of like grappling with the loss all the time. And then I passed it along to my team. And Luker was on my team. And so when we joined MetaMask, it was like, all the experience that we had trying to help users, all the experience we had keeping our own product safe, right? Making sure that threat actors couldn't hack us in order to get to our users or our product. That like Luker said, like that made sense to really upgrade the MetaMask security team and more formalize it, especially as MetaMask grew, because MetaMask is very similar to MyCrypto early on. Like everyone is security, right? And then as the team grows and you have people that are really honed in and focused on certain elements of the product, you can't necessarily ensure that every single person is like the most paranoid, skeptical person on earth. And so right when we joined was a both for like MetaMask as like a unit, as a product, as a team, but also for like our team and the dynamics, it made sense to really like level up and scale up the formal side of like MetaMask security and the things that we were doing. I went to my rabbit holes, and now Luker's my boss.
Awesome. Congratulations on the promotion.
Well, thank you.
I do remember our Slack bot last year said, like, in March, it was like, 1 year anniversary, and there was all these amazing names like came up, and I was thinking it was Luker, and it was Taylor, and it was like Harry, and just like an endless list of like just really strong players in the security space. And I was thinking, my gosh, like a year ago, those recruiters were on fire. And it wasn't the recruiters, it was like the acquisition. It was amazing. So like, given this amazing history, where would you describe us now, Taylor, in terms of where we are like as a Web3 ecosystem with respect to security? What's your take on, a point in time right now?
We are getting better. We are more self-aware. The first step in addressing the problem is knowing that you have a problem. And we're well on our way.
Pointing to me.
Just letting you know.
Security is a journey, not a destination.
Endless. But seriously, I think that I've been around for a while. I truly think that in the recent years, people have really started to understand that it is an actual serious ass problem when people lose their money. When our protocols get hacked, when our platforms get hacked, when our products get hacked, or even when our end users, via like some combination of circumstances that's not entirely like on you as a person, right? Or as your product. It's like this user did XYZ things wrong and that's what led to their loss. I think more and more people are realizing like, even though I'm maybe not fully 100% like culpable for this or responsible for this, because I can do something to mitigate that or reduce the likelihood of it happening in the future, I think more people tend to be like, okay, actually let's do that. Like even though it's not necessarily, you can't necessarily put the blame on me, I'm still willing to like dedicate resources and energy to that. And I think that that's probably like what sort of gives me more hope and like we're on the right path and it's going to continue to get better. Because there have been years in the past where I was like, I don't see how, like we're not even on that path. And that was like, I would say like ICO era and post ICO era. It was all about just like very low hanging fruit, and most of the low hanging fruit was just diffusion or like pushing off the responsibility. And if you don't have anyone that's like, you know, willing to try to fix these things and come together and work together, you're not going to solve your problems.
So talking about sort of stepping up to the plate, Luca, now having worked with your team like for like the past couple of years, I've really been, it is one of the most impressive teams that I've worked with. Can you just outline a little bit about the remit of MetaMask, the MetaMask security team? Like, how does it fit into the broader sort of consensus security landscape? And, you know, maybe how you guys work with the rest of MetaMask?
Yeah, sure. So there's actually 3 sub-teams within MetaMask security. We have an application security team that is responsible for vulnerability mitigation, and the threat intelligence team, obviously researching the threat landscape and trends. And then we have the security lab, which they experiment with tooling for platform security, mostly around supply chain security. And then as far as how we interact with consensus, there is a consensus level security team that kind of is responsible for making sure that everyone within the consensus family has compatible like security posture, and we're all kind of along the same lines. And so that's, you know, InfoSec, the Security Operations Center, some groups like that we interact with and work closely with. And then within MetaMask, we just do a lot of guidance through the teams, and you know they come to us with questions a lot, and we just kind of create policy, you know, based on putting everyone in the best security mindset.
Yeah, I think it's more than just policy. I think you're heavily influencing direction, which is good though. Now, Taylor, I think it's good to see you with a smile on your face, because I'd have thought after 10 years in this space, you would have been like sort of a nervous, dribbling wreck, like suffering from multiple doses of PTSD. But you know, you're mainly focused now on like more of the external interface for us with the security ecosystem.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about what your work that you're doing now with the ecosystem, like SEAL 911 and the Security Alliance, all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I think like one of the, I guess like for me personally, the best thing about joining Consensus was for years I'd been like the boss, I'd been the CEO. I was responsible for making sure that everyone had their jobs and everything that comes with. And so it was like I had a very limited amount of time to really try to, I guess like do what I think I do best, which is really like working with other people and bringing people from diverse areas that are doing useful things like together. And so joining Consensus meant that I could, you know, finagle myself around and find, you know, define a position where I could do more of what I wanted to do. And it's been absolutely amazing. I've spent a lot of time in rabbit holes, which has been great. But I think even better than that is working with the people that are like actually out there trying to fight these problems, regardless of where they work, regardless of like who they're affiliated with. Like, there's so many diverse efforts out there. And so not only understanding like the threat actors and what they're doing, but also seeing how, you know, these people that are really diving deep into whether it be like the drainers as a service, whether it be like the more sophisticated like nation state actors, whether it be like more on the investigation side, or whether it be on the prevention side and blacklisting side and stuff like that. And then at some point, Sam came to me with the idea of like the SEAL thing. And I just thought that, I was like, I'm so glad that you are doing this. This is like a really great idea. You're going to bring together sort of like the best of the best from like across the entire ecosystem, and then try to like action things that we know are going to be valuable for people, but that no like one particular company can necessarily execute. And it's like a rapidly evolving sort of like shape-shifting thing at the moment, SEAL, because I think there's just like this rapid clip of innovation and like addressing the issue. It's like we see something, and if we're in a good position to be helpful or useful or valuable, then we take action on it, whatever that may be. And so some of the things that we've been working on lately is basically like this Whitehat Safe Harbor. So one of the things is like if you're a white hat, or let's just say if you are a hacker, right, and you come across a vulnerability, you can like black hat it, meaning you can just like go steal all the money, right? You can like try to be a good, responsible security researcher and like responsibly disclose the issue, and then the team fixes it. But a lot of times in crypto, like, you know, the second that one person can see that vulnerability on chain, the countdown, like it's actually like already gone. It's a race. And so there's been more than a few situations where, you know, there are people who are knowledgeable and able to basically like white hat hack, right? Meaning like drain the vulnerable contract to a safe location. However, doing so comes with a huge amount of liability if you don't get like really explicit. Actually, like it comes with liability no matter what. And so basically, because you don't have a relationship with the team that you're, or the protocol or the platform or whatever that you're hacking, and because in all the different cases, the relationship that product, these decentralized protocols, right, have with their end users is also different. It creates a really complicated situation legally. And so the way that it's historically been done is that like everyone just stays anon and hopes that the feds don't come after the good guys, right? Like, and that's just not, like as this ecosystem matures, it's just not a tenable way forward. And so what this Safe Harbor Agreement does is it basically gives, if you're developing a protocol, you're developing a smart contract, something like that, you basically first, you like put it up there, you're like, these are the rules that like any white hat is bound by, right? And it standardizes that languages, and it releases, it like sort of like pre-releases these certain liabilities. That said, there's always going to be liabilities, but like I think it's a huge step forward in helping, in basically, if the goal is to keep end users safe and not from, you know, don't let the hackers get the money, we have to realize that like, you know, these are the situations and these are the things that we can try to do to improve that situation. I think this is one of them. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but we can't let like perfect be the enemy of good. And this is going to improve things. And then also, just in general, SEAL has like 1,000 other things going on that are in that same vein of just like really trying to action things that we deeply know about.
Yeah, I definitely feel perfect is definitely the enemy of security right now. Yeah. Actually, just a curious thing, like to ask everyone in the room: anyone here working on dApps at the moment? Just curious to see if we've got any dApps people in the room.
Oh, don't be shy.
So, yeah, you guys are well embedded in the. I'm hoping you've signed your Safe Harbor Agreement. But I think for everyone in the room, you know, please, if you are interfacing with dApps, tell them to just get that Safe Harbor Agreement approved and allow the white hats to sort them out. So, yeah. So Luca, now we're going to jump onto Lava Moat. I don't know, I think Lava Moat's like one of our best kept secrets, but it's one of the most important parts of what I think has enabled MetaMask to keep, you know, have a secure space for the keys for the last, I don't know, 8+ years. Can you drill into a bit more detail about, well, what is it a little bit, and then maybe what the MetaMask Security Lab do who look after it and other things?
Yeah, so LavaMo is for supply and chain security. It is free and open source, and we are trying to get more ecosystem adoption because it benefits everyone if everyone is acting more safely. And basically what it is, it's a tool written in JavaScript that sandboxes JavaScript dependencies. So like everyone who is a developer needs to use libraries and NPM packages, but you can't always know for sure if they're safe. So by isolating them to only be able to interact with specific parts of the rest of the dApp, you can just minimize the risk that you're facing. They're also kind of building out a toolbox of things that go along with MetaMask with LavaMoat. And one of them is Snow, which protects against iframes. And we have another one that is brand new that's still being experimented with called Lava Dome that secures the domain object model. So it's a lot of that experimentation. They also have been really instrumental in helping snaps be the most secure that they can be. And then just generally being helpful people.
and the second part is that you cover is the application security piece. And tell me a little bit about what they do.
Yeah, so they mitigate vulnerabilities through a few different things. We have a very robust HackerOne bug bounty program. So kind of earlier in their existence, we had a really big backlog of these bugs, but we have now really gotten it to the point where it's very hard for these hackers to find them. So if anyone is up for the challenge, you can visit MetaMask HackerOne page and help look for bugs. But also, they sort of guide and oversee threat modeling for the rest of MetaMask, and they are working on a automated code scanning tool also to give another layer of helping find as much as we can. And then they work with the teams, of course, to address any vulnerabilities that are found.
Awesome. So let's flip over a bit to Taylor too. You've been on this sort of call face. That hats off, like you actually sitting with our help desk, listening into these calls with.
I'm back in the support box.
I know.
So happy.
But we are in like this like mega adversarial environment. It's like the most adversarial environment on the internet. And what do you see as like the biggest threats to the Web3 ecosystem at the moment?
Yeah. No, I will say it's nice being back in the support box a bit. We had such a good support team, but that resulted in me being really, really hands off. And I sort of lost touch with like hearing it in first person, hearing people's stories. It's been really nice to get back to that. And then it's also really nice because we have like data as well. And so it's like you get the double dose, right? You get the first person anecdotes, their actual experience, their actual words. And then you also get, like, really at this point, robust data on like what our users are facing and the challenges they're facing. And that combination is remarkable because I think that, the data's still improving, but I think at some point we'll have like the best view of the threats on the ecosystem, like even better than on-chain, because we can actually figure out like what this mess of malicious activity on chain, like when you combine the two, the user stories, right? That's when you get the full picture. And so what we're seeing, and this is rapidly evolving, but pig butchering is like number one. And most people in this room probably have less experience with pig butchering, but it is by far, it's been dominating, it is dominating. It's also the, if you sort of cohort the large losses, so people who lose, say, like more than 50K, more than 100K, pig butchering is like way up there on that. If you look at the whole range of losses from like $0 to infinity, it comes down a little bit, like percentage-wise, but it still dominates. And for those that don't know what pig butchering is that essentially, like, historically there's been these scam centers that scam people. They defraud them in various ways. And they use they'll do it with your bank, they'll do it with Zelle, they'll do it with PayPal, all these different things. The newest iteration that is known as pig butchering specifically has to do with crypto. And so they basically onboard individuals around the world into crypto. And the way they do this is they talk to them for like 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or a year. And they literally have a conversation with this person. They develop a relationship with this person. And they slowly start like talking about crypto. And they do so in like the way that they talk to the person, the way that they sort of advertise crypto or onboard them to crypto varies depending on the victim. If a victim is like, like just really gung-ho and wants to make a bunch of money, they'll sort of go down like a more investment fraud scheme type thing and like advertise like really high APYs. You can get so rich doing this, et cetera, et cetera. But the most, I guess, more interesting for me part of it is even people who are really skeptical of cryptocurrency, who are really like they work a 9-to-5 job, they've worked that job for the last 10 years, they like investments are scary, like crypto is bad, like those types of people, they still manage to onboard and steal millions of dollars from them by actually using the same mechanisms but advertising like safe passive income. It's super low percentages. It's not going to change your life. You're not going to be rich actually. But like, next Christmas you might be able to buy your daughter like a better present, right? Like that's a common one that we see is like just promising them like that in the future they'll be able to buy their daughter like a nicer Christmas present. And that, depending on the person they're targeting, they'll do different things. There's also like a whole romance sexual element too. So
let's not go into that.
yeah.
We'll be here for hours. No, I'm
So
joking.
that's I think the most important thing to know about the pig butchering though is like the numbers are insane. They are actually onboarding people to crypto. So they bring people to crypto, they walk them through how to buy crypto on Kraken, on crypto.com, on whatever their exchange of choice at the moment is. They get the person to literally buy cryptocurrency on the exchange, and then they literally, usually with screenshots, like annotated screenshots, walk them through how to move from the exchange to a non-custodial wallet. So MetaMask is a big one that they do, like literally tell people to install MetaMask, but they also do the crypto.com one, Coinbase wallet, Trust wallet, anything that has like a dApp interaction layer. And then they basically get people to the dApp, these malicious dApps, which display like information that's not actually real. The user very early on signs a transaction that gives infinite approval over their USDC or USDT, and then every subsequent like money that goes into that address gets swept away by the hacker. Meanwhile, on the dApp interface, the whole thing is fake. The whole thing is a facade. And we don't often learn about these until they're in our inbox and they're saying like, I can't withdraw my money. And I've talked to every one of the scam sites. I've talked to every one of those support people. Like maybe you guys can help me. And that's, it's heartbreaking and it's really, really bad. Yeah,
it's tragic and super frustrating. So we've got just a lot more work to do. Mm-hmm. And so talking about that work, Luca, sort of going on to the third area that you cover, which is the MetaMask threat intel piece. Tell us a little bit about what they do and how they help with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, so some very talented people like Taylor and Harry and a few others. They work closely with the customer success and user safety team to analyze direct reports we're getting from our users about possible funds lost incidences. I don't know how to say that. FLIs.
FLIs.
I mean, they're also very boots on the ground, kind of just interacting with other security researchers in the space, sharing information, and then kind of infiltrating the dark shadows of the internet to see what's up with these people so that we can make the most informed decisions as MetaMask on what features to really pursue to help protect our users.
Yeah, awesome team. Can I get a few more minutes, or are you going to give me a hard stop? Okay, thank you. Taylor, like we know that like all these scams and that the hackers are continuously evolving, and how are you seeing the security space evolving over the next 12 to 18 months? Like maybe your view of where the new sort of threat vectors are coming from, or where you think, without disclosing too much.
Yeah. So. Historically, and this is played out in reality as well, during the sort of the downturn markets, typically we see like a huge increase in like ransomware incidents, and that's like a majority of the illicit flows on chain come from like those types of ransomware. Pig butchering is like a new one that came up this last cycle that really dominated. But then when the market shifts, we actually see the trends shift as well. And so we'll see, not that ransomware goes away, it's just that people, move around to whatever the easiest thing is. And when the market trends up, when the prices go up, when more people are getting in, typically we see a huge increase in like Ponzi's, like straight Ponzi's, really sort of more traditional investment scams, rug pulls, right? New project spins up, and then all the money disappears, whether that's an insider at that company, or it was a fraud to start with, or they just were insecure. It's always unclear. And so I think that, as in this market cycle, we will see all of that come back with a vengeance with the price. I think the other one that I'm watching closely, and I think most people are watching closely, is I guess it's been about a year and a half since like the drainers as a service. So this is like approval phishing, permit phishing. It's the like the Twitter account takeovers, Discord account takeovers. They push like an impersonation site or a malicious giveaway, airdrop, something. They have to click and sign a message. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of really deep work on this, like tons of teams doing amazing work to sort of like understand the threat actors, to blocklist them, whether that's their like URLs, whether that's their like infrastructure, whether that's their on-chain addresses, et cetera. But we're actually getting better, right? Like Blockade is now integrated within MetaMask. Huge deal. And I think that for a lot of people, it was like once we have Blockade in, everything will be fine and the drainers will go away. And like, that's not gonna happen. The drainers are gonna evolve. As we've seen, even in the last couple of weeks, the drainers have started to evolve. And I think that as like the teams that are working deeply on trying to address these issues and the wallets integrate better and more deeply, we're gonna see a continued evolution in that space. So the drainers are gonna get crazier, they're gonna get more evasive, the techniques that they're using are gonna get, they're gonna be pushed to new limits. But the reality is like that's actually a really good thing, right? It raises the cost for the attackers. It makes it harder for anyone to become a drainer, and that's, in my opinion, like I'm very optimistic about this direction that we're going in, because a year ago the drainers were just like literal kids who could like barely code, let alone maintain their code base, just like running around unstopped. And anyone could become like a drainer, literally. And we saw this, like we saw the factions and stuff. Today, if you want to become a drainer, like you have to have a really deep understanding of the smart contracts, of the different signatures, of the different wallet interfaces, of the different blocks, and then you constantly have to iterate and evolve in response to the various products' evolution. And so I think we're in a much better place today. And if we just keep whack-a-moling them and iterating in response to what they're doing, it's going to become less of a problem. But also, I think that we'll probably see, if you want a prediction, I think we'll see like a solid like takedown of one of these groups, and I think that will make it so that they'll faction out more, but they'll then it'll like be a pivot, right? And so we have the drainers as a service as we know them now, the SIM swaps, the Twitter takeovers, et cetera. We're going to see a pivot to some adjacent thing with whatever the new hot thing this cycle is. So last cycle, there was a lot of NFTs, Bored Apes, OpenSea was targeted very, very heavily. Whatever the hot thing is this cycle, we'll see, sort of dedicated groups targeting those. So if you're the next hot thing, okay, you've been warned. I expect you to react quickly, okay? Way more quickly than MetaMask and OpenSea did last cycle, okay? I expect that of you.
Very good. So on that slightly threatening
Goodness.
comment, Luca, like we heard like we've obviously got the blockade piece in. We're sort of doing improvements on ETH phishing detect. What other sort of initiatives are you like excited about that MetaMask is working on to improve security?
So, I mean, while the blockade integration is like a piece of armor, I feel like using the transaction security snaps is like adding additional pieces of armor. And so I am really excited about that, especially the kind of the permissionless aspect that will allow people to get creative. We're looking at locks for assets that would allow you to choose what parts, like which assets are going to be untouchable unless you like go through a bunch of steps to unlock them. We're creating a domain allow list to prevent DNS hijacking that we're trying to get more involvement throughout the ecosystem with. What else?
I mean, the one that I'm excited about is the thing called the Vault decryptor fixes.
Oh, yeah,
but,
yeah, yeah.
like, I don't know if this room cares at all.
No, I think I just looked through the threat intel sort of list of asks for the product team. It's long, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there's a ton of stuff going on, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So let's finish up because I know we're a wee bit over. Thank you, Milena. So we've got like a lot of like the big players in the Web3 security space here today with us, Taylor. What do you want to see from the security ecosystem going forward? Mic drop.
I think that like the security companies, the people doing whether it's research, whether it's products, like the people that are really focused on the security side of things, I think that like we have such an amazing range of like talent and knowledge and expertise. The thing that is, I guess, maybe missing still or can be improved upon still is turning that knowledge and that expertise and that deep experience into something that will truly have like a huge impact on reducing the loss, whether that's products, platforms, protocols, chains, end users, whatever it is. And I think that a lot of times in this space, there's like because of that sort of like separation between the people that are like building the products and then the security experts, there's like this gap. And I would really encourage like anyone that's doing security stuff, like don't think of it as a competition, like rising tides raise all ships. You really have to think of it like that, because if you start getting competitive with other security researchers or security companies, it's just not, it's not gonna work out for anyone. And only by like really working together are we ever gonna actually overcome these threat actors. Because at the end of the day, the people that are attacking us and stealing the money, that's what they do all day, every single day. Meanwhile, the rest of us have like all these other things going on. We're trying to build a product, we're trying to add value, we're trying to be legit, we're trying to also then secure against these threat actors. And so we have to really like leverage the unique combinations between teams, between people, in order to overcome like the sheer brute forceness that these different attack groups are doing. So yeah, put down the swords, don't compete with each other, and work together more.
Very good. Look, I want to thank you both very much for the immense amount of effort you guys put in to keep users and MetaMask secure. And big round of applause, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.